Hi! Are we on?
We're not sure. We're going to try this whole Facebook Live thing, so bear with us. We are Kelly and Jessica from Healthcare Straight Up, and I'm an occupational therapist and co-founder.
And I am the speech therapist and also co-founder.
So we're going to get started with our topic today of caregiver burnout. And we just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about kind of what we do, and then we'll get right into our topic so we won't bore you too much. We kind of came together and came up with Healthcare Straight Up just because of a little bit of how we are. We're kind of blunt, and we're the therapists that just kind of tell you like it is. So that's kind of how this started. We kind of said, you know, we kind of do it a little different than other people. So we said, let's make this something. Let's do something about this. And that's kind of where it started. Let's see.
Well, I feel like, you know, one of the things that we actually got started with was we used to work together in a building, and one of the things that the patients' family members would always say to us is, how come no one's ever explained it that way before? And it seems like it's a simple concept, but a lot of the times they're not told. Where they go to the hospital, they've been to the doctor, and no one's told them, like, hey, this is your loved one's diagnosis and this is what you can expect from it. This is what you cannot expect from it. It's rare that someone actually gets that sort of education anymore, and so we became the therapists who at rehab were able to tell them that. And so we kind of decided that we would capitalize on the ability for us to be able to bluntly deliver, good or bad, what the news was and what we think we can do with them and what we think we can't.
The information you need straight up.
Straight up.
So that's kind of what we do. We offer a blog, we offer online therapy, we offer, we're working on courses, we're working on a lot of things in the background, but it looks like we have one viewer.
Two
viewers.
Hi! Thanks for joining us.
Leave us a comment so we know you're here. So we are, because we can't see them unless they say something to us.
Oh, so. I don't know how to make it like that.
Oh, see, it shows up. See, they're here.
Try another way. Oh, here we go.
Hi, Mom. So we're going to get right in then. We're talking about caregiver burnout and a little bit of, we want to hit first off, though, that caregiver burnout is also just burnout in general. So we are specifically talking to those who are caregivers, taking care of a loved one, taking care of an older sibling, taking care of anyone that you kind of have to put forth the effort and the time and the energy. And it kind of becomes repetitive tasks that get exhausting or get tiring. So that's what we're talking about today. But that also goes for
therapists. Therapists can also be the caregiver burnout. A lot of the times, you know, if you're seeing the same type patients over and over and over again, there's nothing really changing, especially if you're doing a long-term care patient, then, you know, you might be there saying, I do the same thing every single time I pick them up. I'm done with this. I'm tired. I don't want to do it anymore. And so that can sometimes lead to burnout. And we want to talk a little bit about what you can do to try and reignite your passion for caring for the person who literally you're their world. I mean, at no point any longer are they able to function alone, which is how they ended up with you. Mm-hmm. And you feel like everything rests on your shoulders. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. And I think that's the thing that happens is everybody gets really stressed out. They start feeling like I can't get a break because I don't have any options. And so then their health starts to decline, and then that's where we see the burnout.
And then there's just this spiral effect of, okay, now you're completely stressed out and you need to take care of not only yourself and the issues that are coming up because of this stress and this, you know, struggle, and then you're having to take care of them, and it's hard. So.
Hi, Foxy. Thanks for joining.
Very cool. So specifically, we're going to start with things that might identify burnout. So like if you're having these problems, these are some of the things that we kind of notice first off. All right, am I experiencing burnout? Here's some examples. So we'll start with the number one is you're not taking care of your basic needs. So you're not getting in that shower in the morning because you're worried about someone else. You're not making sure that you get a rest break and you're running off and helping someone else. You're not making sure that you eat. You're making sure that someone else is eating, that kind of thing. So that's number one.
Yeah, not going to doctor's appointments, that's also a big deal. I mean, we say this all the time in our work life, pretty much, I would say almost weekly. we talk to the caregiver to tell them, like, listen, if you're not taking care of yourself, then there's nothing you can do for the other person, because if your health declines and you're no longer able to take care of the person, now both of you are down. It's not like you have someone to fall back on. So it's really a priority for you to really make sure that you put yourself first a lot of the times, because this is the person who is running the show, and if the leader goes down, everybody else goes down with them.
Mm-hmm. There's a reason that on the airplane they say, you know, put yourself with the air first, because it's not how they say that. I have no idea. I'm not a flight attendant. But they make sure that you take care of yourself first before taking care of someone else. They say it much better. So number 2.
Exactly. Number 2, you're snoozing your alarm way too much. Now, I'm going to just be honest. I'm a snoozer.
Like, can't say anything.
Okay, so, but after 1 or 2, I get up. If you are the person who has your alarm set and you're setting it for literally an hour and a half early because you know you're going to hit the snooze 5 or 6 times, then there's something we need to look at, because, you know, when you start to get to that place where you can't drag your body out of bed and you can't seem to find the motivation to do it, that sleep pattern, you know, there's a lot of studies that show that if you snooze, that sleep that you get during the snooze time is not as good as the sleep that you get before that alarm goes off. And so once you do that and you hit that snooze button, really you never get the restful sleep again, although we feel like maybe sometimes we do.
Oh, we feel like
I love to say that I do. It doesn't really show that in the studies. So if you are someone who's waking up early just to hit the snooze alarm to stay in bed that much longer, then we probably need to reevaluate where you're at. It's starting to get burnt out.
Number 3, your to-do list is overwhelming. So that's again going back to you're taking care of someone else. So not only do you have your to-do list, you have all the things that they need, the appointments that they need to go to, all of the things, the places that they need to see. I can't talk today. The places that they need to go, the people that they need to see. They might have an occupational therapist, a physical therapist, or somebody coming into the house, or whatever it is. Even if they're not coming into the house, they have basic needs they need to take care of. Maybe they need to be physically rolled in the bed. Maybe they need to be dressed. Maybe they need to be more tedious things. So your to-do list is starting to really overwhelm you because there's so much on it. So.
And number 4, your life doesn't motivate you. And I know that sometimes we can feel like that just on a random day. But when you are stuck in the place where every single day you feel like you don't have a reason to be happy and, you know, enjoy what's happening around you, then, you know, it's time to reevaluate. And maybe you need to see someone. Maybe it's a counselor, or, you know, talk to a friend or a family member, somebody who makes you feel better. But if you don't want to get into a phase where you are now becoming so unmotivated that you become depressed, that can be a really big challenge to overcome, especially once you hit that spiral. And we know that there's a lot of mental health issues, not just with the patient themselves, but also the caregivers, because everything is so stressful. And so you really want to try and stay ahead of that. And whether it takes medication or counseling sessions where you're talking to somebody, but make sure you do something so that, you know, every day you find a reason to get out of bed and be happy.
Yeah. Number 5, you're not taking a break. So you're going, you're trying to take care of yourself, you're taking care of someone else, you're not taking any time. You're not sitting down, you're not taking a moment to yourself, whether it be 5 minutes or an hour, whatever it is. You're not spending any time on yourself. And that can be, we get into these flows of like, well, I'll do that in a week. I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that. And then you're not really being present with that. Okay, that's getting out of hand. That's going to take more time. That's going to be a problem later. So you want to make sure that you're spending time every single day taking a break.
And number 6, you're getting overly irritated by other people. I think that is usually a sign of stress. I mean, that's one of the things that usually happens when you start to get stressed out. You start to get short-fused.
It's like gonna go off on someone.
Which I think we've all kind of been there, and that's usually like right when something in our lives, when we have all these things piled up. And that again goes back to, you know, us feeling like the world rests on our shoulders. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, we feel like we have all these things.
The world does kind of rest on our shoulders.
True.
So you do feel like it really is there and it's heavy. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's great. So if you find yourself where you are short-fused, sometimes it's even like the cashier at the grocery store, like, you know, she's a little too chipper, or she's taking too long to give you your change back, or maybe she really needs the cashier register in order to be able to tell you how much change she has, depending on how old she is. Oh, I shouldn't say
Speaking from personal experiences, like the cashier, like.
So if you find yourself getting overly irritated about things that really would be minute in the scheme of things any other time, then you probably might be a little bit burnt out. Okay.
You're living on autopilot. You're just going through the motions. You're not paying attention to like, oh, I haven't seen so-and-so in a while. You're not being mindful. You're not paying attention to anything else outside of just the fact that, okay, I've got to get through the to-do list. I've got to get through the day. I've got to make sure they have their breakfast. Make sure they're dressed. Make sure that you're just focusing on the exact things instead of like the big picture. Like, oh, I haven't seen so-and-so in a while. I haven't taken the time to go to a movie lately. I haven't done anything besides you're kind of what, tunnel vision? Like you're just focusing on what's now and you're on autopilot. So if you're kind of looking like that, if you're not looking at big picture and going back to what Kelly said about like things that make you happy or like things that you want to do and spend time with, then you need to really kind of look at that too if you're on autopilot.
I think that can also be like, how you have a schedule every day where like you're used to like, and you have like your morning routine, right? We call it, where we get up and every day you go to the bathroom and then you brush your teeth and then you make your coffee and then you get in the car and you drive to work and like.
I hope you put clothes on.
I mean, that's probably a good idea.
Therapist. I'm like, what? You need to get dressed.
Coffee. Okay.
Okay. Sorry.
But like you go and you have this schedule of where it is, and then all of a sudden like there's a change in the schedule, like you have a doctor's appointment or you have something, but you literally forget because you're stuck on autopilot of just like, literally I just have to go do the same task, and you run, and then all of a sudden like you get to work and somebody calls like, you had an appointment at 9:15, and you're like, oh shoot, like I was supposed to be at the dentist's office. Like, I mean, I feel like sometimes that happens to the best of us, but a lot of times, like when we feel overwhelmed and have that, like your schedule gets, as long as it's on the same schedule, you're good, but as soon as it's off the schedule, the autopilot still takes over, and then you miss half of what you're supposed to do, which maybe I'm just making myself an excuse. And then the last one, your thoughts are negative. And I think that comes from, you start to think poorly about the person. I know with like, especially with dementia caregivers, and we give a lot of advice for the dementia caregivers, and so I kind of think about that whenever I think about caregiver burnout, but it could literally be somebody with any sort of impairment. But like you start to become where you feel like they can't do anything, I do everything, they do. And you start to resent not only the person that you're taking care of, but then also the friends and family members that are around you, who you feel like don't help
aren't
you.
Doing anything.
Yes.
They're never around. It's all me. I'm doing everything.
Yes, exactly. And so you kind of get that feeling like, nobody does anything, nobody helps me, nothing is good, my life is in ruins, my job sucks, I don't have any money. Spiraling. Those things kind of start, and then you start to feel like nothing is good in life. And I think that kind of, is a good indication of maybe feeling like I might be a little bit burnt out. It's time for me to kind of think about what to do from here.
And that's a great segue into what to do from here. And I like that to start with is asking for help. So like a lot of times we put all this on our shoulders, like it's just me, she never helps, and so-and-so never comes over to give me any like reprieve. Like, most of the time these caregivers are working with living with or working with someone the whole time. I mean, just every day in and day out, they're not getting any breaks. So they feel like no one is coming by to help, no one is helping, no one is doing anything. And if you have thought about it, you might not have asked for any help. You might be on autopilot and just doing all the things. And
I think that happens a lot. Like people start to feel like, well, I can't ask. If they wanted to help me, they would offer. But I feel like a lot of times, like and we tell our caregivers, right, is that the worst that can happen is you ask and the answer is no. I mean, that's the worst thing that it can be. But if you don't tell anyone that you're helpful, they're looking at you like, well, if I help her, then she's going to think that I think she does a poor job. And so I don't want to intrude, because she didn't ask me for help. And so there becomes that cycle of what's going on. And I know there are some caregivers that feel like, it all falls on your shoulders. I've asked for help. But maybe you've asked from a family member. But maybe you might have a friend or a neighbor even that would be willing to come over and, sit for an hour with your loved one while you run to the grocery store, take a bath,
or you've asked once. Like,
that's true.
A lot of the time, like, so both for sure, but a lot of the times we ask, like, if I ask Kelly, hey, can you do me a favor? and then she says no, I think she's never going to do me a favor anymore. Like, she's never going to be able to help me ever again. I'm like, why did I just spiral into this whole, like, Kelly can't help me? Kelly might not be in a good mindset today, or has a crap ton of stuff on her to-do list and can't help me, but maybe tomorrow if I ask her that same question, you know what, I still need help, can you help me? Actually, yeah, I have more time today, I can help you. Or whatever it is, like, not just assuming that no means no one can ever help me ever again. Like, I just...
Never!
Like, so dramatic. So, yeah, just...
So, and that's kind of like one of the things we also talk about, like, you're in taking care of somebody else. Oh, that's the phone ringing. Hi, we're busy. In taking care of yourself, you need to kind of think about and even put down on paper, what is it that really you do that makes you feel relaxed and calm? I think that sometimes that's easier than you think. Like, for me, like, I love to have a glass of wine and, you know, light a candle and just chill. Like, that's all I really need. And those of you who know me know I'm a homebody. I like it here. Like, I like to be at home. So I don't need a lot. I don't need this big fancy thing in order for me to feel like I'm relaxed or feel like I got time away. I just need a minute to myself. Mm-hmm. And so even if that's, if you can't do it at home because your loved one is there, if you went to a restaurant and sat at the bar for an hour and, read a book and, had a glass of wine and just, took some silent time away from yourself, maybe that's as easy as it is. What if you went into the bathroom and just locked the door and took a bath and a bubble bath and put some music on and left it after they went to bed? I mean, there's a lot of little things that I think a lot of times we overlook, and it's literally like, if you could just put your headphones on for like 15 or 20 minutes and just take a down rest in the middle of the day, like, you might feel refreshed. Doesn't Google have that thing where you sleep in the nap pad or something? I'm almost sure there's nap pods, and you get in the pod and you sleep for like 15 minutes during your lunch break.
If you don't have a pod,
someone who's researched Google, I'm pretty sure that's it. I'm gonna look it up.
I don't know. I'm reading now that it says he said it's me calling. We're a little late.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, if you don't have a nap pod or whatever the heck that is,
it's true.
If you don't have one of those, I think sometimes we think like we can't even take 5 minutes. I can't take 5 minutes for myself. Yeah. You probably can. Like, even if I was like over here, if we're working and I'm talking, which is very likely to happen. Kelly, if Kelly said to me, mm-hmm. I just need 5 minutes. I just need 5 minutes. Like, I'd be like, oh, okay. Like, I'll probably go back to talking right after that 5 minutes. But she needs 5 minutes, and I can do that. Although it's a little harder with, like, with a dementia patient or with someone who needs help all the time, or especially with a memory disorder. Like, they might not remember that they just asked you for what it was, and they keep bugging. I mean, you know how kids will do, like, the mom, or whatever it is. Like, you might be getting kind of a consistent.
Yeah.
So you don't feel like you can take 5 minutes, but I mean, even kids, like, you hand them a toy, or, with a dementia patient, you can give them, like, one of their favorite activities, like a valued activity, and take that 5 minutes. Okay, I need 5 minutes. I'm going to set them up with this thing that they love.
Right.
Now I have 5 minutes. We probably want to take more than 5 minutes, but let's start somewhere.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that kind of leads me into, like, seeking out support. So, like, if you've asked your friends and you've asked your family and you feel like, you're not really getting it, like, look online at all of the specific diagnosis websites. They have Parkinson's ones and dementia ones, the Alzheimer's organization. There's a bunch of those that have support groups that are everywhere. And a lot of times, it's as easy as that, right? It's as easy as reaching out to somebody there and saying, hey, I'm stressed out. I need something, that can help me function. And you'd be surprised at just, having some kind of community where everyone is dealing with the same thing, that they'll give you some techniques. And even us as therapists, like, sometimes I hear what the patient's family members are doing. I'm like, oh,
great idea.
What a great idea. Like, that's awesome. And so, that's one of the places where you can reach out. We have a forum on our website on healthcarestraightup.com. We also have a forum where you can go in and ask questions. And then not only do we go in and answer the questions from a therapy point of view, but then, some of our other members might chime in and say, hey, this is what I've done and been successful with it. And so, there's a lot of support groups around, whether maybe it's not in your backyard, or maybe it's not a family member, maybe it's a stranger. I mean, maybe it's somebody who's in a support group that's in the same city as you and you just don't know because you haven't reached out. There's even there's Facebook groups that you can join that have, caregiver support. There's forums and there's websites where you can go to.
Yeah, whatever you need. If you want to connect on a personal level, they have different meetings for the Alzheimer's, so you have them where you can meet up personally or you can meet up online. Like, there's a lot of different ways that you can go about it. So lots of different options, and then we have options as well. So definitely talk to someone, though. I mean, definitely really try to get into a community of anyone, whether it's just like, hey, I need to talk, or whether it's, with someone. It will go back to even a therapist or a counselor or someone, a social worker, somebody that you can just talk to, because it's a lot of things to juggle.
Yeah, I think communication is the big issue, right? Is that, when we keep it in, we tend to let it build up. Sometimes, like, I'm a venter, a lot of times if I'm mad, like, I just want to get it out, and then once I've gotten it out, like, I'm not mad anymore. Like, it's good.
Yeah.
And then I yell, and then I'm like, okay, that's good. Like, we're good. And then everyone's looking at me like, wait, what? I thought she was mad. I'm like, yeah, but I was. But now I said it, and now I'm not. So I think that's like, the communication is a big part of it. It's just the release of that kind of thing. And a lot of times if you're getting the opportunity to talk to somebody else, you feel like you've gotten that release.
Mm-hmm. So what we didn't do was we kind of wanted to hear from you guys. So we've got a couple people on. I know my mom said she wants one of those sleep pod things you were talking about. But let's look at, like, even just from you might be burnout even just in a job or in, we all get into these repetitive, kind of motions. So even just for someone who's not a caregiver, of any of those things like snoozing or, just kind of getting into tunnel vision, like kind of identifying. So we're going to go back into like identifying what's kind of going on, seeing what's happening, and then starting to pick out something. So like maybe if anyone wants to comment like some of your favorite things, like things that you haven't done in a while, like I haven't been to the movies, or I haven't taken a bubble bath, or whatever it is, like that you really want to kind of focus on you taking some time. And that's just for all of us, like specifically caregivers, but
I think everybody. Like, and you and I have talked about this, so we like to like really think about the spiritual side of things. Like, we're not really religious, but we definitely have a spiritual side, and so we explore things. And I think sometimes like sitting down to think about the perspective of somebody else, like how would it be if I were this person on the other end. Like, some of our caregivers have patients who aren't necessarily haven't lost their cognitive function, but they've lost their physical function. And so you think about like, what does it feel like to be on the opposite side of that, where you are cognitively intact, your brain is there, but you realize that you can no longer do anything for yourself and that you rely on somebody else. And how does that make you feel? Like, do you feel guilty, and is it sadden you? And so I think a lot of times, like when I start to think about, sometimes I'll get people where they're like, I'm so frustrated because they don't do anything, and they can't help me, and they don't this, and I'm like, okay, but think about how they're feeling. Like, they're frustrated that they have to ask you for everything. I mean, the simple task of we have, like, we're thirsty, we get a drink of water. Like, we pick up the water and we give it to ourselves, but somebody else has to give them a glass of water. Like, you think about why dehydration is so prevalent in our physically impaired patients, because no one's picking up the glass of water and giving it to them. And how like devastating that must be to feel like, your whole life
for most individuals, they're extremely independent. We've never just said, okay, well, I can't do this, someone else can do, you're used to being able to do most of these things. So it's a big deal for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's a big change.
So I think that might, like, for me, like when I start to get negative and I feel that sort of thing, like that, I kind of go back to that, like, okay, let me think about what it's like on the other side of this. Like, what if I'm the person who's having to do this, and try and have, compassion for where I'm at and what I can do for the person on the other end. And I mean, I feel like maybe that's why we become therapists, right? Is because that's how we think. But I mean, it can make a big difference in your
But even
attitude.
as a therapist, you can sometimes lose track of that. You can sometimes just kind of get into the tunnel vision or whatever it is, and you kind of need to come back.
Efficiency requirements, hurry up!
Yeah, all the things. So like, you just need to kind of come back. Okay, go back to these positive notes. You're having these negative thoughts, whatever it is. Come back to, okay, why did I start taking care of my loved one? Because I love them. Or why did I start as a therapist? Because I love to help people, or whatever it is. Really thinking about what it is that you did this for. Why did you start? So I think we're kind of coming to the end here.
Yeah.
So we want to talk a little bit about, we're going to be doing kind of another segment. We're going to start doing this once a month. It's the last Tuesday of every month. And then the next one is October 29th. And then the subject is going to be what it means to be a caregiver. So we know we kind of talked a little bit about like caregiver burnout is a tough topic because not everyone is going through caregiver burnout, or they might not identify that it's caregiver burnout. But for all of those that are taking care of someone else, it's tough. So we wanted to address it, and now we kind of want to switch and go to something a little more light and talking about why, like what it means to be a caregiver and why you did it in the first place. So.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, if you're watching this after the live thing and you have questions, you see it on our story, please feel free to leave questions in the bottom and we'll be happy to address those and answer them. We'll be putting this up on our site and making some minor edits so that we can put in our little sheet so you can see the 8 of them on the form, because we want to be able to have you be able to review that in case you want it for later. But we would love to have you back again. We really appreciate you guys joining us today. And for our first one, we'll see.
Hey, gotta start somewhere.
That's right.
Cool.
And please visit us on our website, www.healthcarestraightup.com.
Got some good things coming.
Check out the blog.
Cool.
See you later.
Wait, aren't we supposed to do our thing?
Bye.